Hello, everyone, again to a new episode. Today we have a guest, special photographer from Canada, Dominique Matthiews. Dominique, how are you today?
Yeah, I'm good. Thanks for having me, man. I really appreciate it.
It's really a pleasure to have you here. So, Dominic, I know a bit about yourself. So, for the sake of the audience, could you tell a bit about yourself, how you got into this, and a bit of your background story?
Yeah. So I got my little trusty mic here. So I come from the States. I'm American, and I essentially came here about like 10 years ago or so. And it was a really interesting experience. I got in a car accident some time ago, and I didn't know what I was going to do. Initially, thought my family and I were going to stay in the States. It was my parents and my sister, and so my mom, she actually got a job in Canada, and so we were just like, you know what, let's just have a change of scenery and come to Canada, come to Toronto. And it was honestly a breath of fresh air. I was not expecting like anything in Toronto to be as it was. So I'm pretty happy about that.
Wonderful. So you told us already, it was a good experience, this move, and now you started. So how did you go to get into photography? Was it something that you had since child, or it came just afterwards? How did it go to you?
So basically, I was working on a reality show with this guy named Rick Smickless. He's a really fiery character here in Toronto, and he actually started the franchise Wild Wings, to my knowledge. And so he was my neighbor, and he was working on some projects. I had uh, just been at the right place at the right time, and so he was like, Matthew. It was the first time I was introduced to a handshake agreement. You know,
Right.
I had never really take I never really experienced that before. It was always contracts and everything else, but this guy was top notch. And so it was right by the elevator. He was like, you know what, I want you to work for me. Start at $20 an hour and then go up to 25 to 30, and let's get you started. And so shook my hand, and that was that. But I had a camera with me for the job. And so I decided, you know what, let me figure out how to use this thing, like actually. And I remember going outside, and I see this father with his daughter like hoisted up on his shoulders. And you're going out through your day, and you don't really recognize things like that. You just kind of let them pass by. And this camera, it forced me to really be in the moment and pay attention to what was happening around me. uh, I took out my earbuds. I didn't listen to music when I was out. I just tried to enjoy the day and where I was at. And so I didn't take the usual photos of, maybe an unfortunate homeless individual out on the street, or, what any other kind of photos that most people take.
Sure. Sure.
And and again, that also made me pay attention a lot more.
Wonderful. Wonderful. What was your most interesting or most impactful moment that you had, since you started this trajectory?
In photography, or just
Yes,
like
in photography. Yes.
doing. Okay. um huh I think the idea of you never know what you're gonna get,
Right.
just as a whole. When I first started taking photos, I honestly thought they would turn out terrible. And suddenly I'm looking at these images, and they look, I'm surprising myself. And that's kind of the best part. You take this image, and um, depending on what camera you have, you just it. I don't even have words. There's so many times when I'll show up, and I am a little bit nervous to shoot. Uh, every shoot turns out great,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
yeah, but I'm still nervous.
No, I guess it all goes with any job. You know, there's always a perspective when you get to a new customer or new project or where there's always something that obviously you don't control. So I guess that creates that nervousness when you get into it. But in the end, I guess it all goes with the experience. You know, once you have the experience itself, you just improvise with any outcome and just make the most of it. I guess it's kind of like
Yeah, yeah. That's oh well. That's another thing. I mean, improvisation. Actually, I wrote down a couple notes, and that was one of the big things. It's I like things to be controlled, but
yeah.
also I do like variance. Like you do have to have another reason to keep coming back to something, otherwise you'll get bored. Why bother? So it's nice having certain conventions that you can follow. Okay, set this angle, pay attention to the rule of thirds, things like that. So yeah.
Wonderful. So, since you started this, how do you engage in the market? I mean, can you tell us a bit more in detail what kind of work you do exactly? How do you do it? How do you engage for people to understand a bit more about your work?
Yeah, I basically I started up doing like dating photos. And that was a trip because I ran into a lot of guys who were great guys, but just needed more confidence and just a bit of a boost. And it's kind of interesting how photos can really do that for you, because a lot of people don't have either the know-how, or I guess just the aesthetic eye for photos. And so it really does help when you have a proper dating photo. So I was
Would
doing
you
that.
say that is something that is born with the person, or is something that can be created over time?
I'd say both. For me, I think I've just always been an artistic type person. I love aesthetics. I like things that look beautiful. I just like things to be in order and not be messy, um, as much as I can. You know, other than my kitchen right now, which is like this
Right,
looks terrible.
right.
But yeah, I you can always learn. I think that the main issue is who's teaching you.
Yeah. I guess we all learn from someone, or our life in the end, because no one actually knows everything. Even the person that we think that can know everything, he doesn't know. I mean, he knows from someone else, and he goes on. I think we have that domino effect in all careers or any job or anything we do, because I guess it's a learning process from daily basis, right? I mean, I'm pretty sure in your detailed projects that sometimes you do some and you do repeatedly, and then you got to say, "Oh, I said so. Next project, this one I'll do in this certain angle, something like this, right, to make it more perfect." So, I mean, I'm guessing. I'm just asking you what it is from your perspective.
What's can you elaborate just a little bit more? Or?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, the way you develop your work, obviously, you try to perfect yourself, over and over again. So I guess for every work you do, you see maybe some gaps that could be improved. So you
Mm,
improve them on the next stage and on,
I
right?
see.
Something
I
like
see.
this.
Yeah, so this is something I've been slightly obsessed about. And in some circles, you call it a mental stack, some you call it a cognitive stack. And essentially, it's just a fancy word for saying a bunch of stuff that you're juggling in your head. And
Sure.
so I will be juggling, oh, is the light right? Is their positioning okay? Is there a random outlet in the photo, like on the wall? You would be surprised at how many times outlets ruin photos.
Yeah.
Trust me, you're gonna start seeing them everywhere now. But yeah, that's the biggest thing, and that essentially separates your beginner photographers from your experienced ones. I could just see something and immediately, oh, okay, her head is tilted just a little bit too much towards a profile. I can't see the eye on the other side. Let me tilt just a little bit more so we have a nice balance of, of the
Color
eyes.
and lightning. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I
Right.
guess. I guess.
So yeah, and everyone has a different body type too. Even people who have very similar body types, sometimes the vibe is just different enough to where a pose you think might work on both, just it doesn't work for one person. So you do have to personalize it and really take time to, give a personal eye to people.
Of course, of course. What was your most complicated project that you've done so far?
Uh,
If
hmm.
many, just discuss the many. I'm just asking to. I think it's interesting, to know how you overcome. Yeah.
Well, I had one project where it was a big team. It was the first time working with a team, and it was a wedding mixed
Right.
with uh, a cinematic like showing of a rollout of an indie movie. And so it was interesting trying to figure out how are we going to balance the themes along with just being everywhere at one time. And so like I had two people with me. I was the main photographer and we made it work. But I think the main issue was just trying to break down all of the themes. We shot people at one time and then we shot food and then we just made sure to get everything. And then we would go around kind of shadowing people. And then from there, we would just wait for moments to happen.
Did you had like complicated stages that you really had to improvise a lot to take the work out?
Not really. I'd say it. This is going to sound weird, but the most frustrating part of photography is probably the equipment. It's not the people. That's the fun part, really. It's fun trying to find moments and uh, be really enjoy the event for as
Yeah.
much as you can being a photographer. But cameras are a headache, and I'm actually developing a patent right now for cameras to make them a bit easier. I can't really talk too much about it, but yeah, I think we're heading towards the point where people are tired of messing with settings and all that stuff. People just want to get a camera, pick it up, and shoot, just like an old Kodak. I mean, that's why
Right.
they were so iconic and fun.
So, talking about cameras, you mentioned that they are a piece of tool. Sometimes they are complex. Did you ever have, any moment that the camera actually was really, really getting into you in the point of a project?
A couple times, maybe you
Yeah.
might want light just a perfect certain way. Just because you saw it online or maybe like TV or something. Or did I say TV?
Yeah.
You saw it on YouTube or something. But really, the main issue is just the menu system and getting all the settings to work properly. Um, Besides that, I'd say it's fairly normal. The issue is more so the speed. Like you can find things easily, I guess, easily enough. The issue are the menu systems and the cascading format. So
Right.
what I mean by that is you have a menu with a big list, you pick an item, and then you have another menu with a big list. You have to scroll, and then it just keeps going. It's not efficient. It's not very user friendly. It's terrible, really. Um, so I've been trying to work on a way to have everything gel together just a little bit better.
Nice, nice. So you developed this yourself, or is this something that you can configure in the camera, or is it your design?
Well, right now most cameras they have their own proprietary software, and
Okay.
they don't really play well with outside software. So I would have to either make it my own camera or some other way. So it's more so just a conceptual idea right now,
Sure.
and I have a lot written on it.
So tell us a bit about your work. I mean, you do photography, you do video, for people to understand what is your possibilities and what kind of work you actually can do to anyone.
Oh yeah, yeah. So lately I've been doing a lot more private photo shoots and events. So what I'll do is I'll often shadow one person like for the day, or every now and then I'll get people they want to have a multi-day shoot. And so it can be a bit tiring, but it's really fun. And as long as you have a system and a routine, it is probably one of the funnest things you can do, like in photography. I don't know many other people who do it, but that's my bread and butter, along with dating photos.
Right.
Yeah.
And tell us a bit more about that. I mean, you also do video shooting, and what are the specifics in your work you can do also?
Well, I like to create stories,
Right.
and I know that a lot of video these days is very pretty. There's a lot of great photographers and videographers out here, but I don't particularly see videos or clips I feel as much that really strike a chord that make you like kind of giggle or laugh or something like that.
Right.
Like I saw a video earlier today where a cat was looking at the mirror and like hissing at itself because the cat didn't know it's another cat, right? And it's kind of goofy, but also there's also like this side where it's like, oh, I can relate to that, like self-help, right? Like, oh man, I look in the mirror and yeah, I kind of hit myself too. Like you have those moments sometimes. And
Sure. Sure.
so I try to show moments that are moments that everyone has.
So basically, you try to embrace and you try to connect more with the person you are working with at that moment to make it more relaxing, and that improvisation becomes really outstanding process within the work you do. Right? That's kind of what Paul is saying.
Oh yeah, definitely. And you have to let people breathe a little bit. Sometimes people try to over direct,
Sure.
and it takes time to get relaxed and to get comfortable sometimes, and that's okay. I think that's another thing people should keep in mind too.
I guess goes also with the person from the other side, right? Because I do know that some people don't like to be in front of cameras, even if it is a photo camera. Sometimes they are shy, or they have that retractiveness. Did it happen to you that you had like this kind of extra issue during some shooting? I mean, tell us a bit about it.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. Ironically, I'm someone who is a bit shy of cameras.
Right.
You wouldn't think so, but I guess I that's why I'm doing this, because I like to be behind the camera. But yeah, sometimes you do get people who are a bit tight, a bit tense,
Right.
but I think I have a good way of having people relax and like
Connecting
direct,
to, yeah.
yeah, and directing people to just relax a little bit. Yeah.
What was the most interesting part in any of the work you've done? I mean, I can see that you have deep inspiration and deep in know-how, how to get in, perfectionate and this type of work. So, according to you, what was during any projects the most inspiring moment that you have that you see sometimes it does not happen in a normal photo shoot?
Sorry, let me just take this off. A time that doesn't happen in normal photo shoots, you're saying?
Yeah, I mean, I'm saying that you just mentioned that sometimes you're trying to connect into people to make it more relaxed, to get in, to that area that to have a really optimized photo shoot, right? So within this stage, what was the most inspiring? I mean, there must have been some type of work or project specifically that really inspired you more. Can you tell us a bit about that?
Yes, definitely. Yeah. Yeah. I'm sorry. Sometimes it takes me a bit to understand sometimes,
No, no problem.
but, absolutely. So while a bit before COVID, I was going through an awakening, and I took a step back and just decided to stop doing everything, recenter myself, and just reflect a lot more. And it's a weird time. You have times when you're just not in the mood to do anything. Uh, you should go on walks regularly, but you don't. And this one day, my daddy was like, you know what? Go take a walk. Just clear your head. I know you don't want to go out, but just go out. Just do it. I'm like, all right, okay. So I go out 5 minutes. I'm like, that's it, max. And I go around the corner of my place, and right around the corner, I see this cab driver just just relaxing, right by his cab with a cigarette, and he looked so peaceful. I had never seen anything like it, and I just, I had to go over to him and ask, can I please take your, can I please take your photo? And he was like, yeah, sure. And so he just looked at me and he just continued doing what he was doing. And honestly, there's a couple on my page, but it was the photo of the black and white, with the gentleman with the with that old fashioned hat.
Right.
And wow, like he was my spirit animal. So that was my favorite moment in photography so far, and I'll never forget that because he looked how I felt or how I wanted to feel. And anytime I see that photo, it just reminds me of the piece that I found
The
after.
connection, the connection
Yeah,
that you had at that moment, right?
yeah.
Amazing, amazing. So, tell us a bit about more. I mean, if anyone would try to reach you, how would they reach you? Specifically, what kind of lines of work can you do to anyone that reach you? And your advice how you work, for people to understand a bit more about you.
Okay, yeah. I just put up a website recently, dominiquematthews.com, and you can reach me there, spelled just like the name up on screen right here, all one word.com, Dominique Matthiews. And essentially, you can contact me through the contact form. I have my number up on there, and also some scheduling pages too. So Instagram, essentially anywhere you can see my work, the website or Instagram, if that's more comfortable for you, you can reach me there. And the work I do a lot these days is personalized shoots. So usually it'll be around 2 hours. That's usually the sweet spot, it seems like. So 2 hour shoots, a nice proper price. I always talk things over with everyone. And then some people, they want to shoot, they want to knock out like a bunch of outfits. You'll have influencers sometimes, and so I will hang out with people either for more than a few hours, or either the whole day if they have the energy. That's the thing. Like, some people have boundless energy to the
Yeah,
point I'm like, okay, let's do this another day. But yeah, so there's that. And then of course I was talking earlier about the multi-day shoots. So that's for people who, let's say you have a red carpet affair. That's something for that. You have maybe an opening or a wedding or something like that.
amazing, amazing. Thank you for that. So, we have a question from LinkedIn, from Jeffrey Gate. I'm not sure if he's listening right now. And the question is, I wonder how AI is impacting professional photography. If you can tell us a bit about that.
uh yeah, humans are very performative. We love to act. And there are certain things about humanity that'll never change. We love to act, we love to watch people act, we like to act in front of our friends. That's, I mean, plays have been around since forever. I mean, Shakespeare, who doesn't know Shakespeare?
Right.
While certain aspects of photography might in fact go away to a certain extent, I think that we have to look at it with a silver lining. Certain things that we don't do as much right now will be freed up in the future. For example, the more mundane stuff like headshots and all that stuff, it is going to be it is some people's bread and butter, like exclusively, and that might take a hit. But at the same time, I think it'll free people up for more creative things, or more things that are more human. And we might not know what that looks like right now, and that's okay. But people are gonna people. That's not gonna change. So I'm not too worried about it.
Right. So, what you're saying is that AI basically can improve quality or work within photography, but will never be replacing the human factor, right? That's what you're saying.
Yeah, not too soon. Again, there's way too many things going on and way too many active scenarios where AI just can't do anything. You need a physical person there.
Right.
Until we get the Tesla robots that know how to do photography properly, I don't think we have to worry about any of that anytime soon. And plus, I think another thing to remember is that right now we're in a time where connection is a little bit harder to come by, and in general people want people around who they get along with. And when you take people's photos, like, you do create a relationship in a sense. And so if you have a good vibe and things just they just gel like that, people, they want to shoot with you more, and vice versa. I like shooting with everybody who loves shooting with me.
So, he says that I love your answer. Can you make me and Julie famous? I mean, I don't really recall. I tried to understand what was the actual format of the question. So I guess he's talking about something related with photography, how you can retract a person in a way to improve the looks. I would say. I guess that's the question.
To retract the person.
Yes, yes. To make it look at in upper stage, like much better, position it to internet or to social media in the way that the person looks. I guess that's the question.
I see. So something along the lines of, how do I rebrand people?
I'm sorry.
Is something along the lines of rebranding? Is that what they're saying?
Let's see.
Because
Um,
I've just never. I guess I'm trying to understand retract people.
so I guess the question initially was, can it from photography, can we improve the looks with photos, the way the person looks to the public? For example, when you expose inside of the person, you expose the picture. Um, does that actually makes the person with better look from the outside, or would say that it will be exactly the same?
Oh, like the glow, the inner glow.
Yes, yes, yes.
Ha. Okay. Absolutely. Like, that's what I look for. A 1,000%. Uh, there are a lot of good looking people, and honestly, if you do enough, I think almost anyone can look great. So that's not really much of a worry. But people are very interesting, and a lot of times there's parts about us we don't necessarily know consciously, but we pick up on just very slightly, like little micro expressions, the way
Sure.
someone's cheeks move and turn up and stuff like that. And so when people have that glow, a lot of those muscles relax, and all of a sudden that tightness, that tension, is it leaves their shoulders. They're not contracted so much or constricted. They hold up their chin higher. Like,
Sure.
you see the crinkles in their eyes, just night and day.
So we have another question from Jeffrey Kate again. He says, everybody wants to be famous. The
Yeah.
value of your offering um, might be to make other people famous, in the market, or richer. So when you cooperate with a collaborator that does the introduction, what will be, your line of collaboration, and how does it work? You can tell not too much in detail, just, on eye level. How do you usually cooperate with people that does introductions to customers, etc.?
Okay, so the volume just cut out just a little bit, but just people who are a bit high up, and they're is that what you're saying?
No, no, no. What the question is, for example, another person as a collaborator of you does an introduction of a customer to you. How do you usually
Okay.
work with collaborators, to get in the line of work? Not mention too much in detail, just in high level. How do you usually collaborate with collaborators that introduce you customers? I guess that's the question.
Collaborators. Okay, that's I've never been asked that before. I guess that's why I'm just trying to clarify. Um, Collaborators in terms of like recommending another
Yes,
customer.
recommendation.
Okay.
Someone recommends you a customer for you to work with, similar to this. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, so if anyone, I treat everyone the same in terms of I give everyone VIP treatment, and I try to make sure I understand what people want in the shoot. So I'll ask, what's the problem that you're having right now? Because typically photos, they're a solution to a problem. You want a better interviewing outlook. You want better dating photos. You want a better, you know, just whatever it may be. And so I ask about that, and then I focus on trying to direct people to fit more in line with that. So, for example, if we're talking about maybe marriage photos, we I try to get people in the mood and mindset where they're thinking about good moments and seeing their partner for who they are in totality, and not just, okay, we're just trying to knock out these photos real quick. Like,
Sure.
this is the person who literally changed your life. Like, they saved you from that terrible ex. You they're the first person who actually gave you a chance when everybody else seemed to just want to use you, and bringing that back, and suddenly you're having people get into the moment themselves, and all I'm doing is just sitting back and just taking the moment at the right moment.
Sure. Sure.
If that answers
So,
the question.
going a bit deeper, I guess what you're saying is that when someone collaborate with you, they'll also get a fee from representation of the service, something like this. That's how we usually work.
Oh, so like, would the person who recommends get like a bonus or something?
Yes,
Or
fee, or fee for collaboration, a percentage, or something like this. I guess that's the question.
Hmm. Okay, okay. Yeah, so typically what I do is the people who recommend, I give them free time. And so, like, I will give someone up to 30 minutes or an hour depending on who they recommend, or how big the recommending job is. And sometimes I'll be generous enough to give people a free VIP session, which is around 2 hours. So if you help me out, I help you out.
Right. Right.
I don't forget about people.
Sure. Sure. I guess that answered the question to Jeffrey. So, moving on now a bit on your personal side. I mean, you had a lot of changes in your life. if you like to discuss a bit, about your transitions and how you rise above, all the situation, and how you did it. I think it's inspiring for other people to know that nothing actually is impossible. And I think it's very inspiring for people to understand um, what made you and why you're still here and where you rise above on.
Yeah, that's a big one actually. So, like I was saying earlier, I did get in a car accident some time ago. That was about maybe going on 13 years now. I think. Um, yeah, it's really something interesting when you're in a position where you don't know what's going to happen next, and you're not even mad so much as you are confused. It's almost like you got kicked out of a car on a long trip, and now you're stranded and you don't know what to do. So that was me for a while. So eventually you just have to start walking, and you walk in the direction that you were going originally, and you just keep doing it until hopefully another car picks you up. And if not, you go and you try to look at the silver lining, because honestly that's all you have. Like, I talk a lot about humanity, and I do that for a reason, because it's special, and humans really need to get back to that. We talk a lot about AI and stuff like that, but AI will never shape up to humanity, regardless of how smart or intelligent it gets, because humanity has this habit of reaching beyond.
Yeah.
And whether you call it God, or whether you call it spirituality, or whatever, art, we always have this weird tendency to just stumble on things. Like, how does that happen? And it happens all the time. So there's something that we have a beat on, but don't quite know. And so I like what you said about anything being possible. It's kind of like Schrodinger's cat. Like, you might see something, you might not, and if something's out of view, you can't just discount it as being what you think it is. It is very possible that what you want might be behind that door. But if you look at it like you don't have it, or like it's already gone, or you've lost, you might have just screwed yourself out of something really good. And because there are situations where it's very odd, what you are thinking overlaid onto reality fits perfectly, in a way where if you do act negatively, you ruin your chances. But if you look at it positively, overlaid on top of reality, it also fits. Now, some other situations, it's a lot easier to tell, okay, this is clearly this. But again, there are situations where you might just know without a doubt that something is not going well, or it's in a bad shape, but it really
What,
helps
what
to.
made you overcome? Obviously, as
Yeah.
humans, when we are in a low stage, you already have a lot of thoughts about going backs and forwards. What was the spark, or let's just say the trick to move forward, according to the situation you had at that precise moment? I mean, what was the positive impact impulse that made
Yeah.
you to put yourself where you are?
uh wow. uh the best thing I could say was, I want to lie and say, oh, that,
No, no, no.
positivity.
Being honest, I mean, what
Yeah.
was the phase that made you move? I mean, because obviously, like I said, as human, we have a lot of thoughts many times. But
Yeah.
sometimes, because it's a unique situation, we don't actually know which is the right thought. So, what was your overcome to get where you are today? I mean, how did you knew um, what was the path forward and the right track?
The process. Trust
Right.
the process. I hate saying that, but it is so true. Right now, that's what I'm having problem with the most. Is that I know there's this quote saying the map isn't the territory. A lot of times we have plans and things that we just think are supposed to be happening, and they don't happen the way we want them to, and suddenly we're thrown off. Oh no, everything I know is wrong. I don't know where I'm going, and then you just lose sight of where you should be going, when in reality, 9 times out of 10 we know what we should be doing if we just logic it out and just simply write down what is the best thing for me to do in this moment right now, you know and oftentimes that'll tell you what to do. So that's what got me through, and what continues to get me through today.
Wonderful. What would be your answer to any other person that might be through to similar situation for them to have positive impact of moving forward? What would you tell them?
Hmm. I would say have rituals. Rituals is important, and going back to the whole theme of humanity, a lot of us live in cities, and big cities. There's a lot of concrete all over the place, and it's hard to kind of get in touch with self. This also sounds really weird. Take showers. Water is really really special. And I noticed that a lot of people, when they shower often, it keeps them in momentum. It keeps them moving, and you're not stuck dwelling on a lot of things. The shower has a nice way of helping you zero out and get to a point where you feel refreshed. So having rituals where you recharge, you enjoy something that you really care about time to time. Um, yeah.
I tell you a bit about my ritual. For example, when I'm very like hot country, in summertime I do take a shower with cold water,
Mm,
and then in wintertime I just use hot water, and that makes a very deep contrast on the beginning, on the transition when you change from cold to hot to your body. Um, because, for example, you might be taking cold showers for 3, 4 months, or sometimes 5, depending where you are, and then suddenly you change, and the body starts to have a transition. And I can tell you from my point of view that that transition actually sparks the brain in really a positive way to find all those sensations that the body feels in the transformation. So I guess what you're saying is that there is a process in transformation regarding the rituals and the routine that you can do daily, right?
absolutely. Yeah.
What else would you tell about these routines and rituals?
You have to develop your own. That's that's probably the fun part of it all, to be honest. And that's kind of what makes a lot of people unique. And also, this is going to sound odd, but if you really exaggerate it and you think about it in terms of magical thinking, uh, think about it in terms of what gives you your powers. What gives you your charms. I'll say, if you're good at planning, maybe take time to look over your journal every 3 months. That's something that a lot of people do. I know 3 months is kind of a magic number when it comes to research and reflecting. And
Right.
so that is something. You can have a ritual where you watch a certain movie every winter. Okay, so you just shared one of yours. I'll share one of mine. So I love movies. I love film. It helps me connect, and actors really give you a lot of insight into people's expressions. Like, they're good actors for a reason. It's because we recognize it as something we see in life, like on the daily. So I watch this movie called 2001: A Space Odyssey every winter. I watch The Shining. um, I watch, let's see, Doctor Sleep. That was the spiritual successor to The Shining, and I watched some other stuff too. And so basically, these media, it helps me recognize the transformation. Like, we're
Right.
always going through transformation. And this morning, I was listening to this thing about the ship of Theseus. I'm sure some of you probably already have heard of that. If you have a ship and you replace each board of the ship, and eventually this ship is completely restored or refurbished, is it still the same ship? And then, if you add another fold to it, if you save the pieces that you restored and you remake it as another ship, well, technically it's the same, but you remake the ship with the original pieces, which is the real ship? Are
Right.
they both the ship, or are they both fake? What do you think?
I guess in that type of analogy and perspective, sometimes it's hard to say. Sometimes you need to go deeper in each, each experience and each occasion and each act to see for yourself what can be real and what will not be real. In the end, some things can be almost real, but will exactly will be no, not be. So in the end, it's about using common sense at the same time while you examine a specific situation or a specific act or whatever it is, even a conversation. Everything has analysis, right? I do analysis a lot of almost everything, and that helps to enrich knowledge of almost everything around us. It can be from a person, it can be from nature, it can be from the environment itself. What impact gives to us, and what impact do we give to whatever is the other side? It all has an impact. It can be positive or negative. It's like I used to say, it's a bit about of the logic, but for example, dopamine. For us to have a higher state of mind, we need a lot of dopamine. So it all depends how do you achieve your dopamine, if it's from toxic factors or positive factors. What does that mean? It means that all your past acts, you need to retract them from the positive side, not from bad acts. So this way, your dopamine will get much more. It's more technical, but let's just put it in a wording that can be enjoyed or understood, like a joy. So this in the future will have a higher positive impact in your thoughts and everything you do around you. So it's important in each analysis, always use the common sense about where you want to get, where is your final goal, and what are the path and the in betweens that you're going to face with. And all this, retract them as positive side impact, right? Because how you do this, you go to a perspective, an knowledge, a conversation, a project. It doesn't matter what is around you. The knowledge is there's no perfection. There's no answers for everything around us. Most of it, we need to make up the answers ourselves. So within this, there's a process which is most of the times on first or second time that you go through when it's like complex subjects or whatever, you will not get to the objective that you thought you're going to get. So you need to take that as experience to know yourself that was not the path that took you where you wanted to go. So this way you not take it as a failure. Remember that failures are part of success all the time, but you need to take it as experience to make it that process to get to you where you want to get, and know that you had one, two, or three, or four, or five steps that you did go, that you know those three or four or five steps, it was not what you were looking for to get where you wanted, but is extra experience that you got in the process. So this is how you get positive impact within yourself. If that
Yeah,
was the actual question.
yeah. You know what? Honestly, I think you covered it.
Right. So yeah, we were going on 50 minutes now. So just to cover it up, anything else you like to add about your work for people to know you a bit more, and for finalizing the power message? What power message would you tell everyone to impulse themselves to get to whatever they want to get?
Mm. Well, I think we we're really deep individuals. We're really deep people, and just like just like animals, I guess the animal kingdom and nature itself, each creature has a role, and oftentimes I think we can get confused with what our true role is, and it takes a lot of silence to really figure that out and have that be almost whispered to you. It's not something that you necessarily always decide. I guess maybe some people do just know, just in their soul, but some of us are a bit more confused. And so I think if you're having problems trying to figure that out, don't panic, and just keep trying to cultivate your surroundings. That's what a true creature does. It helps the ecosystem, and it helps things propagate and continue on to the next cycle. So if you have family who you care about that maybe you haven't talked to for some time, say hi. Like, give your brother or sister a hug. Like, give yourself a hug for goodness
Yeah.
sakes. Like, people don't treat themselves properly, and once you start to do that, you won't have to worry about trying to change the whole world. You can get to that later, but by you just being the best you can be, you'll like there's a I'm almost done, but there's a thing that I say every now and then, that's people don't hear, they see. And you can say all you want, but at the end of the day, people are going to watch what you do. And people don't want to be preached to for the most part. So if you can act with compassion and protect yourself, that's one of the best things you can do. And just do that, and people, trust me, you will have people around you doing things that you've been saying, yo, you need to do this, you need to give up that person, you need to, like, go and study this thing. They will do it without you having to say a word. So yeah, I would say keep that in mind.
Amazing, amazing. So thank you much for that. I guess in the end, we're talking about having perseverance and the persistence to get where you are, no matter what. You just need to find out what is your proper environment, the proper people around you, and use silence to get proper thoughts in common sense. Right? I guess that's the perspective that anyone should get around this. So, Matthew, it was really a great pleasure to have you here.
Yeah, thank you so
I
much.
guess now everyone knows a bit better who is Dominique Matthiews and what he does. And was really enjoyable conversation. I do appreciate to have you here today.
Yeah, thank you so much, man. Thank you.
I appreciate it. Thank you very much. So that was all for today. Keep us posted and check our next episode on next Friday. Thank you very much for today. Thank you.